5-minute penalty to Chicago, a game misconduct, and then Manson having words with Steven. And now Butcher gets into it. We're going to have a brawl, folks. Stand by.
What's up, everybody? It's been some time. It is the fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast. We're coming back at you with some hockey news, chatting a bunch of bullshit, hanging out. It is 8:51 a.m. here on the West Coast. I'm chatting with my boy Tommy. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good. It feels a little too early to talk hockey, but also we're like, we're on the cusp of the season starting, so now's a better time than ever, right?
Yeah, we both have the wet hair.
Yeah.
We were supposed to start like 20 minutes ago, and we just both jumped in the shower and fucking did our thing. I welcomed my baby girl to the world about 3 weeks ago, almost a month. So I'm exhausted, which is a big reason why we haven't gotten started earlier. Our apologies for that, but we'll try to make up with it for the weekly content from here on out. Yeah, man, had myself a men's league game last night. It was a blowout. 10-1 victory. I scored 2 goals, had 2 assists. No big deal.
Not a big deal.
So, but yeah, those late night men's league games, man, they're going to kill me now because the kid wakes up at 4 a.m. So like, you got to be ready to go. Not as many parking lot beers. That's for damn sure.
I can imagine.
Yeah. So, so we're going to kind of skip over the news. You guys get that from Chicklets. You get that from Sports Network and all that great stuff. We're going to dive into our predictions because we're running out of time here. Obviously, the regular season starts here, I think, in like 4 days.
Technically starts tomorrow.
Oh my God, dude.
You have the Sharks and Predators playing over in Europe tomorrow morning. So, yeah. And
is that going to count for the season?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm all for that. Those crazy, unique games that they had, like the Lake Tahoe game that they did. What was that, last season or the season before? But I don't think it should count. It shouldn't count with like the jet lag and the travel and all that stuff. It should just be more of entertainment value, in my opinion. But
I mean, they've done some years past, like the whole Europe like global series, like Blues way back in the days gone to like Sweden. The Sharks and Preds are playing 2 games, I think, in Czech Republic. So just to kind of get some more hype from the. So
is this the first time in is this the first time in the league that a home opener, or I mean like a season, the start to a season isn't either ice, like home ice?
I don't think so. I think this happened before. I could be wrong. It might have been later in the season, but I think they've done it to start the season before. I have to check.
That's crazy. It's crazy. I haven't caught it yet. I got to be honest with you. Finding streams for these preseason games have been pretty scarce these days. So I'm not as brought up to speed as some of you out there that might be listening. These predictions that we're going to be making today are going to be for the Western Conference only. We're going to try to do the Eastern Conference maybe early next week. We'll drop it before next Friday. We're going to try to do these weekly drops at Friday, keep up to date. Really excited, man. It's going to be a fun season of hockey. I feel like the off season went quickly, which is good. And surprisingly enough, considering my team didn't even make the playoffs, but that's besides the point. So let's dive right into it, right? Western Conference, and let's start with the Central. Let's start with a fun one too, the Arizona Coyotes.
Stanley Cup champs.
There's not much to say about them except that they might be bombing for Bedard. Just a horrendous team right now. Chychrun still wants out. Clayton Keller seems to be all they have. They added Zach Kassian. I mean, that might be entertaining at very least. The funny thing to me, though, is they picked up, I think it's Jonas Johansson, or is it Jonas Johansson, off waivers from the Colorado Avalanche, and didn't know much about the guy until I saw him in a preseason game against the Golden Knights, and he let in 6 goals. And people were real quick to shit him on the internet. And I looked up his stats, and he's got a career 3.42 goals against average with a .883 save percentage. So it seems quite obvious that they don't care about the outcome of their season, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate, to say the least. I mean, I kind of want to go and check out the atmosphere for what it's worth in that college hockey stadium, which I think would be hilarious, but we'll see if I can make that happen. But it's even crazier too, because the new stadium, so their home opener isn't until the 28th of October. They have a total of 4 home games in October and November. So basically they are on the road for 6, they're home for 4, and then they're on the road for 11 or 12, and then they come back. So like they I think it has to do with some overlap with ASU or something like that. But yeah, really sporadic like schedule to start your season off with like 16 of your first 12 or 12 of your first 16 games on the road. It's pretty rough for a team that's going to be bad anyway. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it happened to the Islanders. It happened to the Islanders last season, and they had like their first 12 on the road or something like that, and that's kind of what put them behind, and they were never able to catch up. Granted, the Coyotes didn't really have that opportunity. They're not half the team the New York Islanders were last year. I have obvious no playoffs. I think you're in agreement with me on that, and possible contention for Bedard for sure for first overall.
Yeah, definitely in the lottery setting for sure, unless something crazy happens.
And let's talk about another team that's probably in the same exact boat, and that's the Chicago Blackhawks. They traded away everybody to build for the future. Some of them were crazier than others. They obviously got rid of DeBrincat, Kirby Doc. Those were the 2 pieces that I was surprised, because I mean, if you're going to build a team, why not build around those guys? They were young. They can't be a day over 24, 25 years old, I would assume at this point. So just a weird move. They don't really seem to be like they're going to be a contending team anytime soon. And then that leaves Taves and Kane. They're still there, but for how long, right? I guess that's the question. They added Max Domi. I believe that's all they really did. What do you see?
Don't discount Jack Johnson either.
Jack
defense.
Oh wow, yeah, he got it from the Avalanche, right?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. So, right. I mean, yeah. I mean, outside of that, like, I mean, they got some guys in trades too, like Anthony, right, and Mrazek, for what it's worth, is half okay, I feel like, but yeah, I mean, ideally, in my eyes, they are like a bottom 10 team and don't get Bedard. But yeah, I mean, I think they got some other things to worry about in terms of, like you said, Taves and Kane, and when they're going to leave, or if they're just going to be like, fuck it, I'm going down with the ship. Who knows? But we'll see how that plays out. So yeah,
I guess they're just going to try to stockpile first round picks as much as they can and build up.
Probably so. There. That'd be my guess.
Yeah. So also on to the bombing for Bedard category. Moving on, exact opposite, the Colorado Avalanche. They lost Nazem Kadri. They extended McKinnon to that massive, I think it's 12.6 7-year extension, making him the highest paid player, not this season, but next season by like $100K over McDavid, which had to have been some sort of bragging rights for sure. They signed free agent Evan Rodriguez, who was looking like he couldn't find a place, which was weird because he had a hell of a year with Pittsburgh. He's going to help round out that bottom 6 for sure. They locked in Valery Nikushkin long-term, paid him big bucks, somewhere 7-8 million. It looks like they're relying on youth to continue to round out that bottom 6. But the problem with them is who's going to be their second line center. Nazem Kadri's out, and you're spending money, and you're not growing as a team, really. I don't know. So I think that they're going to be a good team as always, but I think they definitely backstepped. And I think that there's a weird situation with the goaltending, right? They didn't extend Grubauer. They moved on from Darcy Kemper. They signed Gorgiev, and so far I know it's only been preseason, but man, he's looked like hot garbage. He's looking like he might not actually be, have the chops to be that number one. What's your take on this team? Do you think that they have the capability of going back to back? Do you think they're contenders?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really say. I don't know. It's interesting because, you're losing a couple of top 6 guys in Kadri and Burakovsky. Obviously, you throw in Rodriguez to kind of offset that a little bit. And then, I mean, it's not anything new for the Avalanche fans these last couple of years in terms of sort of the goalie carousel. It's the second year in a row where they haven't re-signed their goaltenders, or their starting goaltender at least. So, Nothing new there. I mean, I don't think goaltending is really ever the issue for the Avalanche. It's can they score at the end of the day. Um, so like you definitely see like overall them taking a bit of a step back in terms of like where they were last year. Do they probably still come out in top on this division? It's very likely, but I think it's a little bit closer than some people might be thinking. Combined with Landeskog going to be missing a good chunk at the beginning of the year too. So that's my take. So
Yeah, I mean, is the fire going to be in McKinnon's gut is the real question. He just got that big fat payday. He finally won. I mean, is he going to, still be that player in those clutch situations? Because to be honest with you, I don't even think he was the best player last playoffs. I mean, I think by a long shot that was Cale Makar. So when you're not paying your best player, when you're paying someone that much money, you really need to make sure that they're showing up every single night. And I mean, so far he has, but we'll see if he continues to do so. Moving on to the Dallas Stars. I had in the notes that they still hadn't extended Robertson. They just announced that this morning to a 4-year, 7 and change, almost $8 million contract somewhere in there. I mean, he was going to get it. Right. I mean, all these guys are making $8 million. It's like Josh Norris over in Ottawa. These guys that are young, upcoming, that have had great seasons last year. Interesting for them, though, is they got to be sitting somewhere on the cap ceiling because they didn't want to extend him as it was. I know that getting rid of Klingberg definitely freed up some of that space. And I said they didn't want to extend him. That's a lie. I meant that they didn't want to pay him that amount. They went on the record, the owner who's the one that's always calling out Jamie Benn and Tyler Seguin was like, we don't like to pay out these big contracts. And then here they are. I mean, yes, he probably could have gotten more somewhere else had the cap been, somewhere on a team. But yeah, I don't know. Pavelski, Benn, Seguin, they're all getting older. Pavelski's great, but I mean, Seguin and Benn have been lackluster for many seasons now. Jake Ottinger looked elite last season, but he's young, he's unproven. They barely made playoffs last year, and that was because they were up against that chase with the Vegas Golden Knights, who were obviously seriously injured. This is the first, obviously the first 2 teams are missing playoffs, but this is the first team that I'm going to say that's not the obvious that they're not making playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to come down to are guys like Ben and Seguin going to produce? Is Jake Ottinger going to be the Jake Ottinger we saw last year? Defense is a bit of a question. They lost, veteran guy Sekera. Klingberg is now with the Ducks on that crazy 1-year deal that he signed. It's a thing where they said they're getting older. They didn't add really a lot this season. For what it's worth to Jason Robertson, they don't need to do anything on the cap side. They're basically at the ceiling, but if they just keep a 22-man roster versus a 23-man roster, they're under the cap. So that's probably what's going to happen here. Crazier even that he's still an RFA after this deal's up too. So that's even more wild on that side. So Stars want to keep him even long term. They have that shot to go 8 years, when that's up too. So smart on that side. Obviously, it's a lot to pay for an RFA, I think, over 4 years, but guy's shown that he can produce his money. So, yeah, I mean, I think this is similar to last year where you have this team where it's like, yeah, they don't have a whole lot going on. They exceeded expectations last year, with some of these other teams that they have in their division that they're playing, 6-7 times a year, like the Blackhawks and Coyotes. It's hard not to think like they won't be a positive record team, I feel like, but I think it's going to kind of shake down to like those wild card spots again, or like how that race shakes out. Quite honestly, they could fall on either side, in my opinion.
If you had to put in lock in an answer though, in or out?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, understanding like every team that's out here, I think they're one of the last teams in still.
Minnesota Wild. They got rid of Cam Talbot. They added Kevin Fiala. They signed Marc-Andre Fleury. It's early. It is early. I have not had my coffee. Weaker team, but still good. Lackluster, boring. I mean, they have Kaprizov, obviously. As long as they have him, they're going to find the back of the net. I think that they're good enough to make playoffs again. I just don't know that they're ever going to get over that hump. They remind me a lot of the Columbus Blue Jackets, and when they had that Panarin and Bobrovsky, and they had a few good guys, but it wasn't enough to actually push them far into the playoffs. Those guys were basically good enough to carry them to the playoffs, but nothing further from that. I have them making the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to go very far. What's your take on the Minnesota Wild?
Yeah, I mean, their rosters never wowed me personally outside of Kaprizov. Yeah, I mean, I see them either as a wild card team, as crazy as that sounds, or like third in the division. That's kind of how I see them shaking out. It's Fleury is another year older as your number one. Kaprizov 108-point season. Not to say he's not going to repeat that, but like that's great. But I think like outside of that, like they have a lot of they're similar to the Blues, and they have a lot of like not real big star power, but I just don't see the full depth here for them to be that team that's going to take it to the next level. Like I said, getting in and then kind of losing out when the time comes. So yeah, and then they don't really have any spot to add anybody if they want to, because they're cap crunch at this point too from the buyouts. The whole buyout penalties from Parise, Suter, that type of a thing. I think Suter. So yeah, I mean, they lost Fiala because of it. So they definitely are taking.
And that's a big void to fill too.
Yeah,
it's a big void. Kevin Fiala had I think an 80-point season last.
85 points. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you got to come up with those goals somehow, right? I mean, you don't really have much going on. What do you have, like Jordan Greenway? I mean, these guys they're going to have to step up in big roles if they're going to make up for those goals. And then unless you have Kaprizov going off and 120, 130 point land, but I mean,
even more so too, like their backup goalie Gustafsson, he's played like 20 NHL games in his career, and Fleury. I don't think Fleury's good to start 60, in my opinion.
No.
So.
And he's going to try.
Yeah,
he's going to try. He wants to.
Yeah,
he wants to carry the team.
Some unproven guy to back him up, and that's not the greatest recipe for success there.
Nashville Predators. Duchesne and Forsberg coming back after massive seasons. 86 points for Duchesne, 84 for Forsberg. They got
waiting on that beer for Forsberg, by the way.
What was the bet again?
He said whatever his cap hit or whatever his AAV was going to be over.
I barely missed it. Still a hell of a season, and I mean, big contract. He definitely, I feel like took a team friendly deal to stay in Nashville. He must love it there. Which I mean, I don't blame him. It's an electric city. They do have a good market. They got a good thing going with their team. And honestly, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm going to commend them. Yossi, Saros, they picked up Nito Niederreiter, Tanner Jeannot is promising young talent, 41 points in 81 games last season. And that's being like a third, fourth line, grinder. Former 6th overall VGK draft pick Cody Glass is actually showing improvement. He's showing that he can be an NHL player. I don't know if you saw that video that the NHL posted where he was like tearing up and finding out that he made the team. Yep. Love to see it. I mean, he's just a smaller guy, so he had to bulk up. He had to get some of that, some NHL games and some experience under his belt to finally make it. But he's doing great now in Nashville. Love to see it. I think they surprised a lot of people. Dude, I really do. I think they're going to have a better season than Minnesota Wild. I have them, I think, placing third in the Central. I don't think it's going to be that hard for them to make playoffs this year. I think it's going to be more of a struggle for the teams that we saw on the bottom last year, like the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild. But I see a hell of a season for the Predators. I mean, is Ingram their backup? Because I know that Saros was hurt last year and Ingram stepped up, but it was like their second or third string, and every goalie they had in net was just insane. So if Saros does, hurt himself or get, in an injury situation, then they have backups that are more than capable as well. So I have them making playoffs.
Fair. I think Lankinen is their backup this year for what it's worth. I think he might have been hurt down the stretch, and that's why Ingram stepped in. But I mean, either way, it wouldn't have mattered in the playoffs against the Avalanche either way. So in the first round for them. So I guess moving on, your favorite team, soon to be Lily's future new favorite team, the St. Louis Blues. I mean, we saw it happen last year. Third in the Central, gave the Avalanche a run for their money, only team to take them 6 games, I believe. It's kind of a situation where you're just left wondering, what if Bennington, his playoff stats were stupid, and then the knee injury. I mean, people in St. Louis want to bitch at Kadri. Don't. Like, that's not the reason why it happened. Get over it. It is what it is. It sucks.
Ooh, hot take.
It
hot
is.
take
Like,
there
it is
from Tommy.
Is what it is. It wasn't trying to do it as much as you want to find something to hang your hat on. You take out your goaltender and you throw in
It's a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, it is what it is. I'm not gonna think about it anymore.
It sucked though.
It did.
Yeah, I mean, you lost to the team that won the cup. So at the end of the day, like, yeah, what if he was fully healthy anyways? I mean, the Avs are still taking that, whether it's, game 7 or that game or not. Like, they won for a reason.
Yeah,
like,
true.
So
yeah, I mean, you got that. Yeah, you're good. You got that. I mean, you got that. Then you have, Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou signed to same term, same AAV, max extension. So, like, that's great to see. Obviously, it sucks losing David Perron. Couldn't re-sign Billy Husso, which I'm, then they okay with. I think it's interesting adding Thomas Greiss and his German ties that aren't so great. From his hockey mask and some of the things around that, but that'll be interesting. I'm very curious to see how he plays out. But yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of the same thing as last year, where, I mean, hard to not see this team making playoffs, but everyone a little bit older on the veteran side. Tarasenko's probably last year in St. Louis. Could be O'Reilly's last year in St. Louis. Shen's a year older. It makes me think, this team could go anywhere from a wild card team to challenging for the division. I really don't know where to put them. I think they make playoffs, but I have no idea where it's going to be.
What's up, Goons? Tyler Cash here from the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, interrupting today's episode to talk about our newest sponsor, Jessie Rae's Barbecue. Las Vegas barbecue has become a style of its own over the years. To sum it up with one word, it's perfection. Come try their award-winning slow-smoked ribs, chicken, pulled pork, hot links, and brisket. When I stopped in, I made sure I ordered the Fortress, and it was delicious. Let me tell you what, come in hungry or come with a bunch of friends because there's a lot of delicious food on that plate. They offer barbecue catering, dining in, takeout, delivery, and they also sell their award-winning barbecue sauce by the bottle. They just opened a location in Henderson at 308 North Boulder Highway. And of course, they have their original location located right behind Mandalay Bay at 5611 South Valley View Boulevard. They're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're open Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. For delivery, call 702-541-5546. Once again, that number is 702-541-5546. You can find them on Instagram and Twitter at Jessie Rae's Barbecue. And let me tell you what, ever since I moved out here to the desert 2 years ago, no other barbecue compares. Jessie Rae's is the real deal. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. Guess who's back? Schlafly's back. That's right, Schlafly Brewing Company is back for its second season in a row of sponsoring the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, and I, for one, could not be any more stoked. Not only is Schlafly responsible for the most delicious beer that St. Louis has to offer, but they also have their hands in some of the most rad events, such as concerts, Maplewood Market, and Art Outside. Make sure you're following them on social media. At Instagram, it's Schlafly Beer. And on Twitter, it's Schlafly. Or, of course, you can just go to their website, which is schlafly.com. That's SCHLAFLY.com. And you can keep up to date on all their most recent products and events. Now, it's getting to be my favorite time of the year when it comes to craft beer. Everyone that knows me knows I love a good pumpkin beer. I love a good stout. And let me tell you, their coffee stout is some of the best I've ever had. And they're also pumping out the raspberry Hefeweizen. I know that everyone loves that. They're a big fan. They have the real fruit infused. It's just delicious. And one could not forget their famous Oktoberfest. It's delicious. It puts all the other Oktoberfest to shame. Check it out. How you can get your hands on it is very easy. Most pubs around the St. Louis area are already going to keep it stocked, but if not, make sure you let them know to do so, or go to schlafly.com and locate how you can find yours and enjoy today. Schlafly Brewing Company. Drink Mo Beer. Are you looking to sell your home? How about finally buying your dream home? Well, then look no further than Sin City Properties and my boy Adam Neglick, the smooth skating agent from Realty One Group. This is a true story, not just an ad read. My mom recently moved halfway across country from St. Louis, Missouri to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, and Adam was the man. Not only did he help her find her dream home, he made sure it was a smooth transition financially. He even helped us move. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about dealing with realtors, but a lot of times they're uppity, they're hard to talk to. That's not my boy Adam. He's a beauty to talk to. He's a hockey fan. He's a great guy. So let me put you in touch with him. Go to sincityproperties.com, or you can call him at 702-335-2156. Once again, that's Adam Neglick, the smooth skating agent from Realty One Group. You can go to sincityproperties.com. You can get a free market analysis, and he'll help you find your dream home today.
Letting Perron walk for the 20th thousandth time, that kind of stung a little bit, especially what he had to say. He really thought that he had secured his spot in the roster. Hard to not argue with him. I mean, he's been a consistent goal scorer. I mean, yeah, he can be a liability defensively and in the penalty box, but still sucks to see him go, like I said, for the dozenth time. But the goalie situation is a little interesting to me because they let Husso walk while they traded him to the Detroit Red Wings. He signs less than $3 million, something like that. And for a reliable backup, which he proved, I mean, yeah, he didn't have the experience in the postseason, but he was definitely great during the regular season when Binnington wasn't able to deliver. It's crazy that they didn't want to extend him. But even more insane past that is Chucky Sideburns, they just let walk as well. And I actually had to look it up. I guess he's a Montreal Canadian now, which is
he's a Capital.
Really?
Capital, yeah. I promise you, he's a Capital.
Was he drafted by the?
I believe he started out his career with Montreal. Yes, for a few seasons.
Okay, his photo is still the Montreal Canadiens. Yeah. Oh, he's at Capital.
3 years with the Caps.
Wow. So it's weird that they didn't want to put their faith in some more youth, especially at such cheap pricing. And Thomas Greiss has never really proven that he's capable of being elite. I don't even know where Greiss is at with the cap hit, but he's got to be at least at that point. I'm just assuming he's got 1 year left, right?
One year, 1.25 mil. Yeah. So it's slightly more, but only for a season. I mean, you have Hoffer too in the system who's coming up. I mean, he's been playing solid, but yeah, I mean, I get it, but I don't at the same time.
If Husso or Lindgren wind up either of them being just career backups and being decent, that's gonna sting a little bit. I think they make playoffs. Obviously, you do got guys playing for their next contract, as you mentioned, O'Reilly and Tarasenko. So you're going to get some great production out of them. I really hope O'Reilly stays put. Such an important part of that cup run in 2019. He seems like he's very happy there, very comfortable. He wasn't really appreciated like he could have been in Buffalo. So. Yeah, I have him making playoffs. I think it's obvious. I actually think that they're gonna give Colorado a run for their money when it comes to the division. I think that they're going to be 1 or 2 seed somewhere in that ballpark.
I don't know if I have that much confidence, but I'll take it.
They're just a weird team, man. They're always a great performing team during the regular season, and then they make it in, and then it's either injuries or it's just a lackluster performance, or they get paired up with somebody scary because it's just a hard division to be in, first round.
Yeah, and it's even more.
I get it.
It's even more frustrating in hindsight where Marco Scandella is having this hip surgery, and he goes on LTIR, and there's your money to sign Perron. I'm now you can't sign Perron, so.
Yeah. You think they would figure these things out sooner because it's no different than what happened with Vegas and Leonard.
Yeah,
they had to get rid of Pacioretty to make room for him, and then he found out that he had to have double hip surgery. So, these things happen. Unfortunately, these athletes in hockey are just intense when it comes to it. So these injuries can just sprout up even at just training camp. The last team in this division, the Central Winnipeg Jets. They're going to do what they always do. They're going to fight for a playoff spot. They're going to come short, or they're going to have an early exit. They're not getting any younger. They haven't made any drastic moves to improve their team. Hellebuck can only carry him so much. He's playing 60 plus games a season. And I think that can be an issue as well. Yeah, I think I have him making it. No, do I have him? Yeah, I think I have him making it, maybe an early exit is the final thing that I had, but I'm kind of second guessing myself because I don't really think that they did anything that could make them a better team from last year.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I'm with you there. I mean, it's cool to see Stastny go back there, I feel like, but yeah, I think it's going to come down to they just had a really shitty coaching situation there last season where Paul Maurice just kind of like dipped. And then Rick Bowness coming in kind of fresh, kind of more defense first guy, which I think is great for them and Hellebuck. So, yeah, the way I kind of see this playing out is similar to last year is you probably have your top three in some way, shape, or form, and then the Blues, the Avs, and the Wild. And then I think you're probably going to have the two wild cards again come out of the Central, where it's going to be a mix between the Jets, the Stars, and the Predators. That's my take.
So you said that Stastny went back to Winnipeg. He went to Carolina, by the way, which is Carolina's wild.
Wait.
Yeah, he went to Carolina.
Oh, sorry, he
went
left.
to Carolina.
Yes, my bad.
Brett Burns went to Carolina. It's kind of crazy. Carolina's sneaky good. They got a lot of veteran presence now. I mean, if they can stay healthy. I mean, that's besides the point. We're not talking about that today, but that'll be next episode.
I think I somehow got him, and I don't know how, like Sam Gagner mixed up. No fucking clue, but either way.
They sound alike. All right, Pacific. Anaheim Ducks. Getzlaf retired. Gibson's getting older. They traded Raquel last trade deadline to the Penguins. He signed an extension. Zegras is starting the season injured, I believe, or is he going to be able to start the beginning?
I think he'll be back for the season opener. We'll see.
Yeah, he took that massive hit at center ice for not skating with his head up. So hopefully that was a wake-up call. Glad he didn't really get hurt. They did come out and say that it wasn't concussion, wasn't head injury. So he must have just tweaked like his upper body in some sense. They didn't extend an offer to Sonny Milano. He went to Calgary, I believe, on a PTO. I don't know if he wound up signing there or not, but either way, they moved on. They're building. I think they missed playoffs not this year, not just this year, but the next year, maybe the year after that. The question is when are they going to get rid of John Gibson for some draft picks? Because you're just kind of letting that guy sit on your team and, you're not even making a push for the playoffs. So, yeah, I think they miss.
Yeah, I think we're still in that spot. They overperformed last year to a degree and kind of kept things close towards the end there. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think Gibson's going anywhere. So I got him for 5 years. I think in these next 2-3 years are going to be back in playoffs. Gibson's still only going to be early 30s. Assuming he doesn't get hurt, I think they'll be fine. Like they upgraded their defense this year. Like I said, that Klingberg 1 year, $7 million deal. Klingberg, Fowler, pretty solid top two. Drysdale up and coming still. Blues legend Shattenkirk there as well. Crazy he's still.
Oh yeah, Shatty, I forgot.
But I mean, they have like a decent defense core. I feel like at this point, but there's just so much unproven stuff, and it just seems like a decor that is good on paper, but is just kind of not complimentary of each other on the ice. And then, all these young guys when it comes to forwards. And then, like you said, losing Getzlaf, after his amazing career, some of these guys are going to only like Henrique and Silverberg. So, I mean, I can see them, potentially jumping out of the gates hot again, but I think they barely miss here.
Calgary Flames, did they get better or worse? Obviously, Johnny Hockey walked. They traded away Matty Tkachuk because he was requesting that trade. We were all hoping he was going to end up in St. Louis. Didn't happen. They signed Kadri, Uyghur, and Huberdeau. They got older, but I think they got less scary. What's your take on it?
I think they got better overall. People are really discounting the fact that you lost out on what? You're gaining, Uyghur. In this trade out of everything. You're losing folks like, again, Tkachuk and Gaudreau, offset by Huberdeau and Kadri. I think that's a pretty even swap, in my opinion, to a degree. Maybe it's slightly less there, but then you also get Uyghur out of it. I think they've gotten better. I simply put, I think I would be very surprised, but I think Calgary wins the division again.
Yeah, I mean, I think I might be kind of alone in thinking they got slightly worse. I mean, I think they're still a playoff team for sure, especially being in the division they are. I have them somewhere in the ballpark of being like second, first. They could make a run for first in the Pacific, but I think that they're going to rest securely in a playoff spot somewhere second or third. It kind of all depends on if, Vegas comes, back full force. After all the injuries and changing things up, but we'll get to them. Edmonton Oilers, Mike Smith retired finally. Best thing he's done for that team in quite some time. They signed Jack Campbell, which I think letting him walk was a huge mistake from the Toronto Maple Leafs. The goaltending definitely improved, but I mean, that's about it. They extended Evander Kane. That's great. He had a great season last year. McJesus and Draisaitl, with them and Kane, and improving your goaltending, they're obviously going to make playoffs. They definitely surprised a lot of people last year. I think they're going to do well, possibly go as far as they did last year, but is it going to be good enough to nab that cup finally and bring it to Canada? No, I don't think so. So I think they're a playoff team for sure, a lock, but I don't think they're going to go the distance.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Campbell is the question mark here. And for what it's worth, I guess Mike Smith technically hasn't retired. He was on LTIR this year, but highly unlikely. I feel like he comes back. Yeah, I mean, question is, Campbell, is he the guy or not? I mean, end of the day, that's kind of what it's going to come down to for them, I feel like. I mean, they added some folks, depth guys outside of that. Again, hard not to see them making playoffs. I think second in division's easy here, quite honestly. But yeah, that's my take from it.
So this is a 5-minute warning for us to wrap up the podcast. So we're going to say our goodbyes now and do these last couple of teams. We appreciate you guys tuning back in. We have some awesome new sponsors that we're going to be unveiling very shortly, probably with this episode, that we're really excited to work with this year. Make sure you're following us on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook. You can find us at fourthlinegoon.com, all that great stuff. Let's wrap up the Pacific Division, and next week we'll tackle the Eastern Conference. We have the LA Kings. They were a bit interesting. I've commended them for a long time now for doing a rebuild right. I think they have some awesome young talent that's undeniable. But I do believe last year was a bit of a fluke. Their goaltending is still a major issue as they continue their rebuild. Pettersson's not the answer. Jonathan Quick is getting Jonathan less quick. They're getting better. They're getting younger. They're definitely building faster than I thought they would, but they're just not there yet. Not even with adding Kevin Fiala and a healthy Doughty. I just don't think that they're the team that they appeared to be last year. I think they miss playoffs. That's my bold prediction. I think that they miss playoffs and they have themselves kind of a mediocre season overall, personally.
I don't know. I think it's kind of come down to goaltending. If Jonathan Quick can kind of have the resurgence he had last year, and Cal Pettersson can pick things back up, not from last year necessarily, but the years prior, I think they do pretty damn good. Their biggest issue is scoring. I think they kind of addressed that in getting Kevin Fiala. I mean, their top scorer was, I think, Kopitar. He had like less than 70 points. So I think that's going to help them out a ton. Young guys they have are getting better. I don't know. My hot take is they do what they did last year and get third in the division. That's my hot take.
Dino did have a hell of an end of season last year with him too. I forgot they added him last year. So, I mean, I'm giving them kudos. I'm not a Kings fan by any stretch of the imagination, but they're building right. I just don't think last year was much of anything. And to be honest with you, adding Doughty isn't going to be much of an improvement. I don't think he's half the player he has been. So yeah, San Jose Sharks, more bombing for Bedard. They lost Brent Burns, didn't really pick anybody up. They have Hurdle, Logan Couture, and Timo Meier as their core, but I mean, is that enough? I don't think so. Erik Karlsson's getting older. I don't know. Maybe he shines a little bit more without Brent Burns on his D pair or on the team. Like maybe he'll get that opportunity to put up some more points, but I have him missing playoffs.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's hard not to see them getting any better at this point. I mean, lost your top point producing defenseman. Didn't really add anything exciting outside of maybe Svechnikov, Evgeny Svechnikov, to be specific, who's not a lot to write home about. But yeah, I think comfortably miss playoffs.
Seattle Kraken, they clearly got better. Matty Beniers, Shane Wright, they got awesome young talent. Veteran wingers, Eberle, Yanni Gord, Burkowski, etc. They have the third line second to third line guys from other teams that are filling out their roster. I think they surprise people, and I think they're going to make playoffs. That's another bold prediction of mine. They only put up 60 points last year, but they were still figuring shit out. I think if Grubauer can be half the goaltender we've seen him in the past, I think that they make playoffs.
They're still a couple years off. I don't care who they added. No, not happening this year. Maybe next. Probably not happening.
Matty Beniers, you think he takes the Calder? You think he's going to be all the hype everyone thinks he is?
I don't know. It's my gut says yes, but I don't know. I'm not sold on it myself personally.
Last two teams, Vancouver Canucks. I know I'm alone on this, but I don't think they're all that great. I don't. I think Thatcher Demko's about all they have. Vegas healthy. The Kings are doing better. I mean, who do they have up front? They have Connor Garland. They have JT Miller.
They got that Mikheyev guy from Russia too. So.
Oh yeah, true. And they have Elias Pettersson, of course, but I just don't think they're all the hype. They missed the playoffs barely last year. I think they're going to do the same this year.
Yeah, I think they're going to be a fringe team, but I don't think it's going to be enough for them still. Yeah, congrats to JT Miller on the 8-year deal, but I don't see it.
All right, last team, Vegas Golden Knights. Last year, they were pretty banged up. We've got a healthy Mark Stone, a very healthy Jack Eichel. They added Phil Kessel, the hot dog man. He's got a huge chip on his shoulder, and they decided to put him on the top line with Jack Eichel. He's on the top power play unit. I think Jack Eichel is going to fetch this guy a $6 million contract next year. I mean, they're looking great. I think Kessel's already netted, I want to say, 3 goals in the preseason so far on that line with Eichel. He's just fine in the back of the net. They have great chemistry. Logan Thompson finished last season with a .914 save percentage record, 10-5-3 towards the end with a banged up team. You know where I'm at. I not only do I think they make playoffs, but I think they shut a lot of haters up, and I think that they're going to take the division this year.
I think out of all the teams that have a chance of doing anything is the team I do not trust with their goaltending at all. I think that combined with the shipment out of, you have Pacioretty and then the Russian guy's name I can't think of as well, potted 20 last year. I still don't see it. I don't care if you have Eichel. I don't care if you have Stone. I don't care if you have Phil Kessel. I just don't see it in this team. I don't see it in this goaltending personally. So I think Vegas misses again this year. I know you're going to hate to hear that.
Rough. 40-goal season for Jack Eichel incoming, I'm telling you. And I'm going to also double down. I'm going to say 20 to 25 for Phil Kessel. And I think that more than makes up for whatever Pacioretty was going to contribute.